One of the most common misunderstandings that I get in a drawing class is the difference between vine charcoal and compressed charcoal. They're two very different kinds of charcoal, and you'll get very different results in your drawings with each. So I thought is worth spending a little time here explaining the difference. First, charcoal is basically carbon. It's just this black powder. And these different kinds of charcoal are basically doing the same thing. They're delivering this black powder to the paper. You can actually get just this powder pigment charcoal at any art store. But with vine charcoal, let's look at vine charcoal. You might be a little confused here because this box says willow charcoal. Willow and vine are essentially the same kind of thing, just made from different plants. But let me pull out a couple different sticks of it here. Any kind of either vine or willow charcoal you're going to find in a box very similar to this, kind of a long box. It comes just like graphite pencils or charcoal pencils. It has different hardnesses and softnesses, different grading of hardness and softness. And they also come in different thicknesses. This is a kind of a variety pack, so you get a bunch of different sizes. But you'll notice with vine charcoal or either willow or vine that there's irregularity in the shape of the stick. You'll notice that it's not exactly perfectly straight. If you look at the profile, you'll notice it's not perfectly circular. And really, if you look close at a piece of vine or willow charcoal, you can actually see the fiber of the plant, because what it is actually a piece of willow or vine that's been cooked at high temperature in an oxygen-free environment until all that's left is carbon. So with compressed charcoal, how they make that is they take this powder, this carbon pigment, and they mix it with what's called a binder or a glue, and then they take that mixture and they extrude it into different shapes. In this case, probably the most common that you're familiar with is a block shape, right? You'll also find it in the form of pencils, so they can extrude it in a circular shape. You can also find charcoal sticks that are circular as well. So there's a couple different forms it comes in, but essentially what you need to understand about all of those different forms is that this is charcoal pigment that's been mixed with a glue. It's not going to say compressed charcoal, but you just need to understand that that's what it is. If it's not vine charcoal, it's probably compressed charcoal. So why is this important, the differences between these two? And this is going to be easier to show than to tell. If I make a line using my vine charcoal, and then a similar kind of line with the compressed charcoal. It might not be obvious on camera, and it's a fairly subtle difference, but the compressed charcoal actually appears to be a bit darker than the vine charcoal. But more importantly, what you'll notice is that when I run my finger through the vine charcoal, it moves quite a bit. When you touch it, a lot of that vine charcoal is going to come off the paper, as opposed to the compressed charcoal, which is not going to move or be removed quite as easily. You can also see now a little bit more easily that how much darker the compressed charcoal is than the vine charcoal. So why does this happen? Well, remember, the vine charcoal is nothing but a burnt stick. So really, when we're making a drawing with it, we're just rubbing dust off onto the paper. There's nothing to really hold it onto the paper, as opposed to the compressed charcoal, which is pigment mixed with a glue. So that binder that's in that compressed charcoal is actually helping to hold the pigment to the paper a little bit better. So as a result, when you start to smudge it or blend it, the compressed charcoal is not going to move around it. It's not going to pull off as much as opposed to the vine charcoal, which is going to. So what kind of impact does this have on your drawing? Well, when you're drawing, you tend to want a full range of value from dark to light. When you're drawing with vine charcoal and you go to try to blend, it's kind of an all or nothing medium. Either you have really dark, and I'll show you this real quick. Either you get this really dark mark, or the minute you start trying to blend it, you get this kind of lighter gray. There's nothing kind of in between those two. There's not been much of a spectrum of value that you can get with a vine charcoal. It's either all on or all off, as opposed to compressed charcoal, which will give you a really nice range of value from light to dark. So you get the kind of a wider range of midtones. And this is desirable because you need all those shades of gray, or that spectrum, to get three-dimension, to get the illusion of space and form. So what I tend to tell my students is that for gesture drawings, for quick drawings, or for the preparatory stages of a drawing, use vine charcoal because you want to be able to move quickly and to be able to remove the charcoal really easily. You don't want to have really dark lines that are hard to get off or hard to move around. But when you then are ready to commit to the line more fully, you're confident in your composition, you're confident in the perspective and the proportions of the figure, then switch over to compressed charcoal and start developing the midtones, the range of value, the highlights and shadows. Start modeling and creating that three-dimension and form using the compressed charcoal, where you will get a wider range of value. So that's pretty much it. The difference between vine charcoal and compressed charcoal. Vine, in my opinion, there are some teachers and some students that will use vine as for their whole drawing, you know, as a complete medium. In my opinion, vine is best for the preparatory stages of a drawing or for quick gesture sketches where you're wanting to move quick and be able to remove a lot of charcoal. The compressed charcoal is best for a finished drawing where you're wanting to get a wider range of value, get darker darks, and a wider array of midtones.